everyone, welcome back. You're here with Lawrence. Thanks for joining me. And today we're going to be speaking about respect. A friend of mine asked me the other day, Lawrence, define the word respect, and I couldn't. I didn't know any definition for respect, and I never thought of giving a definition to respect. But I decided to humor him, and I started to think about the word respect and what it meant for me. And for me, someone who's truly respectful is someone who can come up to me in conversation, shake me by the hand, remember my name, and say, "Hi Lawrence, it's great to see you again," with an authentic smile and give me great eye contact. And that is someone who's got a lot of respect for me and himself. And what that shows for me is that respect is a way that you come forward. It's the way that you show up in the world to other people. It's a behavior or an action. And I think what always precedes in behavior and action is your value system, your belief system, your upbringing, your background. You know, someone who's got a very firm handshake, looks you in the eye, speaks politely, has been brought up to do that. So therefore his actions have become habits. And what that makes me realize about respect is I think it's a deeply, deeply personal thing. It's based on your own experience of life, what you deem to be respectful and what you deem not to be respectful. And I think there's three things that I'd like to challenge you on. The first one is that in order for other people to respect you, you first have to have respect for yourself. It sounds quite obvious, but I think what sometimes people are missing is that they don't know what their values are. They don't know where their boundaries or what their borders are, so they allow people to walk over them and then leave. I remember a few years ago when I just joined the corporate world, a colleague of mine came up to me in front of all of the rest of my colleagues and shouted at me for not doing work, and he belittled me and demeaned me in front of all my other colleagues. And I was just shocked and I walked away, and about 20 minutes later I realized how offended I was. And then I went to go and speak to him. But I didn't know in the moment that someone shouting at me in front of my friends or in front of my colleagues was offensive to me. And that's what I mean. You've got to figure out what your values are, what you're willing to accept, how you are willing to let people treat you. You know, I've also got lots of friends who aren't friends anymore who used to bring me down or used to make jokes at my expense. And at school I went with it because, you know, you try and fit in, you try and be popular, and eventually I just had to be real with myself and say, but I don't want that. I have more value in myself. I have more respect for myself than to allow someone to come and trample over my feelings. So that's the first thing, is what's important to you? How will you allow people to treat you? What do you deem being respectful towards you? The second thing is then to realize that people aren't inherently disrespectful. They've just got their own life experience, which has groomed them and molded them to show up in a way that they believe is respectful. So for example, there are cultures in Asia where it is deemed respectful, if you are the younger person in the conversation, to keep quiet until the older person asks you a question, then you can speak. But not the other way around. As a young person, you can never ask a question first. You have to wait until the question is asked at you. Compare that to the Western world. As a young person, old person, as long as you're screaming loud enough, people are willing to listen. And I'm sure that if you were to bring those two people together, they'd be very conflicted. The Westerner would think the Eastern person is very quiet, aloof, and confident, and the Eastern person would probably think the Westerner is overconfident, cocky, loud. And they're both right. They both have their own background that stimulated them to act the way that they do. So what's really important is to not immediately judge someone that they're being disrespectful, but first to try and understand, why are they being like this, and what has their background been that has grown them to be this way? You know, I did a speech the other day, and I was speaking in front of a very diverse community, and I spoke about my 7-year-old friend, and I went with my hand here, which for me symbolizes a young child. And one of the African guys came and spoke to me afterwards, and they said, "Lawrence, that's really offensive, because in our culture we see this as a representation of an animal. So if you're talking about your lamb or your sheep or your dog, If you're talking about a kid, you speak like this. Subtle. But immediately he had taken offense and said, why are you trying to demean that kid into making him look like an animal? I don't agree with that. And that's where the judgment comes in. He immediately assumed that I had the same experience, the same background, the same cultural upbringing as him, and then he judged me based on my actions. And that is very, very crucial. That's where a lot of conflict comes, is we immediately assume you're trying to be disrespectful, you're trying to bring me down without thinking, maybe you're trying to be respectful in your own way. Then the last thing is, when you do find someone who's got a conflicting value system or conflicting behavior, and you've tried to understand where they're coming from and there still is conflict, then you've got to do the most important thing and have the courage and the respect for yourself to walk away from that relationship. Because if you know that your boundary is to not let people shout at you in front of other people, and you let this person do it, and you just cannot stop shouting at you in front of other people, then you have to have the respect in yourself to say, John, I'm sorry, but I can no longer be your friend. I can no longer be in your space, and walk away from that. So respect is not something you can define. It's not a word that you can find in the dictionary. You probably could find it in the dictionary, I don't know. But I believe that respect is such a personal thing, that is the way that we come across based on our experiences and our values and our upbringing. So it's important for you to understand what is important to you and how are you willing to let people treat you. Secondly is, when someone comes across in a disrespectful way, try and understand what makes them this way. Why are they acting that way? You know, why do they avoid eye contact, or why are they so comfortable with eye contact? Maybe it's not that they're trying to intimidate you, maybe it is, but maybe they're just brought up in a way that if they make eye contact, that is showing a sign of respect. And then lastly, when you do find someone who you're in conflict with and their value system doesn't match yours, and they are constantly stepping over your line and they're not willing to change their behaviors to keep you as a friend, well then you have to make the bold decision to walk away. I hope that you found some value of this session. Please go and check out my website and other videos if you are interested. And if you keep doing these tools and tips, then you too can change the game. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found some value in what I said. If you want to further your self-awareness and self-development and go on this journey with me, there are 4 things you can do. The first one is subscribe to my channel. The second one is go check out my Facebook or Twitter accounts. I do daily posts, maybe that could inspire you. You can go and check out my book on Amazon, Changing the Game, 10 Perspectives to Taking Charge of Your Life. And lastly, go check out my website, www.lawrencebull.com, to go and see my newsletter, other posts, and other things that might be of interest. Hope to see you soon. Bye.